Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whoever and wherever you are. This is Lee, and we're on the game of tongues, where we work on speech anxiety in all its forms. And right now, we're talking to my long-standing buddy, Jason. He's from Kentucky. Say howdy, Jason.
Howdy, everybody.
And Jason is from Kentucky, and he's a guy that stuttered all his life. And when I met him in 2016 on Skype, he told me that he had had 12 years of therapy in school, and sometimes more than one a day. And when they finished, he was still stuttering about the same he was at the beginning. And they said, "Well, Jason, you just got to live with it." Isn't that true, Jason?
Sure,
And,
that absolutely is.
and so when Jason contacted me, he wasn't, that was when he was 18 years old or so, right around there. And when Jason contacted me, he was in his late 30s or something around there. So it had been
I,
about,
yeah, I was actually about 42 years old.
okay, so Jason had been stuttering for almost 2.5 decades after he quit all the therapies, which they told him basically, forget about it. There's no point. Just stutter and live your life. So Jason was really deep into it. When he called me, he stuttered on most words, and it was tough. And so Jason worked on the first edition of my book, which is a shadow of my second edition, which is a shadow of my third. My first edition is 200 pages. My second edition is 320. My third edition is 560, and it's a much better book. But Jason only had the first edition. He worked on it, but I got to tell anyone who's listening, Jason Ewing is a workaholic, and he takes instructions and he does the job, man. And I'm a much better coach now than I was when I worked with Jason. And Jason, I mean, I don't heal anybody, I never have. But if anybody ever cured himself, you're looking at him when you look at Jason. This guy did it on his own. So, Jason, tell us, it's been now roughly 3 years since you posted your success story, somewhere around there. Can you just tell us how your speech is and what you're doing these days about it?
Well, my speech is really good. I don't have any fear of speaking. I don't have any fear of talking on the phone. That was a big problem for me trying to talk on the phone to somebody. I don't have that issue anymore. And I just speak the words that come into my mind. Importantly, what I do is I speak my idea. What comes in here, I like to speak it. I don't worry about what's coming out of my mouth. So, yeah. And with that being said, last year, the year of 2019, was probably one of my best years ever for speech.
Well, every year is getting better, I think, for you, isn't it?
Yeah, it seems like it is.
And that's really the acid test. I can remember several things from Jason. I can remember him telling me, um, I have a good memory, and I remember so much about my conversations with Jason. I have no idea how many Skypes, but a lot of them. And I remember Jason saying, "Oh, what I hate at work when they have staff meetings, and the first thing they do is ask everybody to introduce themselves." He said, "I just want to die. It's the
Yeah.
worst time." Then after we Skyped for a while, Jason was saying, "You know what? When I go to a staff meeting now, if they don't ask me to introduce myself, I'm crushed. I'm
Yes.
crushed." He said, "I
Yes.
can't wait to introduce myself."
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I remember him saying to me another time that when he was in bars, or something, someone would come up and say, "I'm Bob. Who are you?" or something. It didn't happen, and it was a
Yeah.
horrible experience. And then I
No.
remember one other thing that he was saying about. Oh, geez, it's escaping me. Um, oh, I know. He was telling me he remembered, and you're not the only one who ever told me that what I'm going to say right now. You're one of several who've told me this. I I can remember the first time that I ordered a meal in a restaurant,
Hmm.
and I was flawless. And when the waiter left, my whole family applauded.
Yeah, yeah,
Didn't you tell me something like that? Something
yeah,
roughly like that?
yeah.
And that, I mean, this is worth its weight in gold. And but Jason is a living example of why I do this. Jason is a perfect example, and he's the one. That is what keeps me going. That's my food. That's my oxygen. You know, that's what makes me tick. And being able to see you 3 years from when we started, and you look great, and you sound great, and your speech is as if you never knew what the word stutter meant.
Well, that's true, but I owe it all to you.
You owe it to yourself. Somebody said, "Love it, you broke the code." And I said, "Well, I don't know, but I know one thing. No matter how I broke it, you gotta use the code to make the product. I can't do that." And when Jason says he doesn't think words, he just lets his ideas out. That's crutch 13. I didn't even have that crutch when I worked with Jason, and it's a wonderful crutch, and it just says, "Say what you're not thinking." Don't worry about it. You don't think it through. Just whatever comes into your head, whatever your urge is, let it out and get out of the way. And in fact, I was saying to somebody else today, an Italian guy who just did his success story a couple of weeks ago, and I said, I said, if you can just think when you talk, think passion, positive emotions about everything you have to say, and maybe throw in there extreme pronunciation and throw in a smile, you're done.
Mhm.
You're done. And in your case, Jason, all you got to do is think passion, positive emotions.
Sure, and
You
I
don't need
like
anything else. You don't need any other crutches now. You know a bunch of crutches.
sometimes I like to use voice modulation.
There you
That,
go. I love
it
that one
helps.
too. I tell you, when modulation alone, I can say, I ask a guy to say hello. You know how I do. I just did it at the start of this thing. I ask the PWS to say hello, and there's a real silence, and then I hear, the guy's trying to say hello, and I say, wait a minute now. I said, you could drop the A, say hello like that, or you could modulate and go hello or hello, and if you modulate like Jason just said, you'll never stutter. Lee, love it. Jason, you'll never stutter. Never. Because it takes too much thought to modulate.
Right.
But Jason, back in the days when you were stuttering, and back in the days when I was stuttering, sometimes we needed more than that. Sometimes we needed more than that in those days. Because the habit was so strong. You know?
Hmm.
Boy, it's great to see you. Really, I got to tell you.
Really great to see you too. Really great to talk to you again.
I never forget you. Know that. Your
Yeah,
pictures on my screensavers, your pictures on my website, my SAA website. You're right there, man. I know who you are. I know where you are. And I know that if you had a problem, you'd be on the phone, you'd be on the Skype to me or email me if you had a problem, and we'd
yeah.
talk about it. But you don't have those problems.
No, I don't have anything but good things to say. I don't have any embarrassing experiences. And the thing is, I don't think anybody that does not know me would recognize me as a stutterer.
They wouldn't. There's no way
So,
they would.
you
You,
know, that,
that's the whole. Most people say I went to the office the other day and I left my wallet in the car and when I went down to pay for the coffee, I didn't have any money, so I had to go back to the car. That's the way normal people talk, and they don't think anything about it.
right.
But when a stutterer does half of that, they think, "Oh my Lord, I sound terrible." People don't even notice. They don't care.
Yeah.
They don't remember. So, I still make mistakes, but nothing to write home about, and you don't either. And when you make one, you do what a fluent person does. You forget it.
Hmm.
You don't dwell on it.
No.
Well, Jason, all I can say is happy New Year.
Yeah. Sure to you too.
Happy New Year. You know, we can laugh about it, but you and I have the scars, and Lord knows we have the scars.
Yeah.
I have to say, don't isn't your family? I'm sure they are. They've probably forgotten somewhat about your stuttering, but aren't
Yeah.
they thrilled with your speech?
They probably forgot how severe it was.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
I don't think that they really realize that now. But of course, I still have the memories.
yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I mean, it's just total flip flop from what it was before.
Oh, that's great. Well, all right. If you ever come to Bermuda, lunch is on me, and if
Yeah,
I get to Kentucky, I'm sorry, but it's on you.
well, perfectly fine. I would be more than happy to buy you lunch, Lee. I really would be totally okay with that.
I could get awful fat from all the people who would like to buy me a lunch. But listen, you're one of my first and therefore special treasured buddies. You know, you and Johnson's son and um, Josh and Prathusha, early goers, and
Yeah.
it was fun. And we put SAA together. We did that together, and you guys joined me in that. You're still in there, and on we go. We're going to get stuttering off the planet, Jason.
Sounds good. It
Well,
needs
we're
to be eliminated.
all right. Well, listen, you have a great new year, and I'm here if you ever want to talk about anything. And otherwise, I'll come looking for you eventually. You know, you'll see me someday.
So I wanted to ask you one thing.
Yeah.
Is there any way you could send to me again the third edition of your book? I don't know where it's at. I can only find the first edition and the second edition. I don't know where the third went.
Well, for you, I will send it. I'm technically, my publisher says, stop giving them away except in third world conditions. And I said, okay. But you're somebody who antedates all those rules. So I will send it to you ASAP.
Thank you very
Okay?
much. I don't know what happened to it. I misplaced it. It got somehow deleted on my Kindle. I don't know. I can't find it. So
Well, shame on you, and we'll
yeah,
fix it.
it just disappeared.
Well, you'll have it in a few minutes.
Oh, perfect.
All right. Have a great New Year, mate.
You too. Take care.
Talk soon. And that was Jason, and that's the living proof. He stuttered at almost every word. Hadn't stuttered in around 3 years. If Jason and I can do it, you can do it too. Happy